Hi and good evening. It's Monday night and time again for some development. Now, from earlier stream, I have decided to bin the graph 2 minutes and under, okay? But we noticed, I think it was last night actually, I'm not too sure, but I think it was last night. But we did notice that we have a issue with the trading screen, which we're going to have a look at. Now, this has probably come about due to other changes. So you can see it here that when we hit this button, hi Ghost Noya, that our amount isn't changing. And this isn't changing either, which is a bit of a problem. So let's take a look at it, shall we? Now that one's working. Now that's interesting. Right, let's bring that up again. So we've got 500. Well, that's weird. Now, what happens with the buy? Right, so something's went completely bonkers with this. Okay, because we do know that this was previously working, so we must have changed the variable or something similar for that to happen. Okay, so I'm not so concerned that it's doing it on every single button, because actually, you know what? There might not be a problem at all. I'm thinking here that it might be due to a save game thing going on here. So what we'll do is we'll start a new game and we'll try and do the same thing. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So it's a save game issue. Okay, well that solves that problem right away. And what are we going to work on now? Okay, what we'll do, right, here's the plan. I was going to take a look at the, I'll show you what I mean. Now, can I load a game? Yes, I can. That's cool. Right. So, what we're going to do is we're going to try and pinpoint this problem here, where it leaves this little bit blank. Okay? Now, what I did notice is that it's not doing it on every single one. Right? You'll notice here that it works. Well, okay, let me elaborate on that. It doesn't actually work, because you'll notice that the barrels start here. Okay, so it's as if this is drawn, but it's not correct. And it's actually easier to see if I do it up here. You'll see it again. Now, notice the interesting thing is it draws it to start with, right, on the initial. But for some reason, it's getting moved. Okay? Now, there is a very easy way for me to show you what each position is. Right? Now, I'm going to run it once more to let you see. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to draw a point from here. So this is point 0, this is point 1, this is point 2, and this is point 3. Okay? Now, we can mark them. Okay? So what we'll do is, if I go into my spliner, I have a very, very obvious place where we tidy up. Okay? Now, this is it exactly here when we make the main spline points. Okay? And that leads us to the final part. Now, we're doing our collision here, right? In case our spline collides with something. But what we can do also here is we can put a little loop, right? And spawn something that we can describe as a marker. Okay? So, in effect, what we can do is we can say spawn. Okay. Right click. Come on. Spawn actor of class. Okay. And we are going to split that struct, and we are also going to get hold of our spline index main points. Then we are going to for loop it. Okay. We shall put it in there. Okay. Then we're going to get our point. So we break the spline point and we put it in the position. Okay, and now we've got to select a thing. So we can get a truck, and I'm pretty sure that point 1 is about right for this. Okay. So this is now going to give us an indication of the main points on the spline. Okay? Now, I may have done this the wrong way around because it might actually now collide with the trucks, which would be quite funny. Yeah, it does. But we can see our trucks. There, so there's a truck there. There's a truck there. Truck there. And truck there. So for some reason, our initial position is not getting drawn properly. Okay. And what we should really do is do that. And then if it's false, it goes in here. Okay, and once it's completed, oh, oops daisy. Once it's completed, it should go in there. Okay. So, and we should really change this to 0.2, just for a laugh, so that we can see them better. Okay, so this is us calculating the spline points. Okay. So it should be drawing the very first spline point here. Right? So if we enable this breakpoint and we enable this breakpoint, right, we can get this first position, okay? And then we can check what this first position is. Okay? So we can see if it's drawn from the correct first position. Right, so if we continue, we click on this and this, then we draw it, and then click there, and this is our first position, okay? And it's not going to tell us. Fantastic. And we can step into this, and it's going to give us, so it's 360, 5190 minus 360, 5190. Okay, so if we resume that, we can disable that and resume it. Now we can see our trucks. Okay, our truck there, truck there, truck there, and the truck there. Now, here is the first point. If we go to our miner, okay, and we go to position output, it's not giving us the world position. Minus 360, 5190. Okay, so we have the correct position. Now I have absolutely zero idea why it's rotating like that, but it is quite fun. Right? Now, if we look at our spliner, Okay. We've got our main index points. So the first one is correct, 365, 190. Now, the next question has to be, what is this first one? And it's 660, 5190. Right, so our very first position is wrong. And that is because it's 300 out. And that 300, right, is the multiple of one of these. So the spline lengths are 300. And our first point is exactly 300 out. Okay? So when it's drawing the final, when it's adding the final main spline, this first point is incorrect. Now, the interesting thing is that ain't right. It's missing an input key. Okay? It's missing input key 0. You with me, guys? So you'll notice there that this one starts at input key 1, but this starts at input key 0. So that gives us a decent clue on the problem. Okay? We're going to dismiss all those errors because that was nonsense. So we've got to go in here. This is calculating which way we're going. And what we're going to need to do is find out so when we're calculating div x, then we're getting this number here. Right? So we basically want a breakpoint here, even though we can't. Right, so this is getting the division. Right, so it doesn't look like we add these two things. So get them out the way. Right, so what we'll do is we shall continue again and we shall try and break in and see what the issue is. Right, now whatever is going on, okay, so we're not worried about that yet. Right, now breaking into that was kind of screwed it up a bit there. Okay, so we're spawning the truck. Right, we need this breakpoint. So we resume. Okay. So we know that our start point should be minus 360, 5,190. Okay? We know that much. So when we come in here, we've got that number. That is correct. Okay? Now, this is the thing that's doing it, I believe. Right. So we're on the X. Okay, and then we step into here. And now we jump into here and we hit our breakpoint. So we step over. Now this is going to loop and it actually looks like in this case we start at 0. Okay. Now, did we actually get in there? Right, we're in here now. So, we've got start X minus, right, okay. So we step over and that gives us 8. So it gives us 8 sections, okay? So we step over that. We step over that. We step over that. Right? Step over, step over, step over. And now we add. Okay. And we have got minus 300. So So that's minus 300. Right, I need to have a real think about this. Because this was basically copied straight out of the original one, and it may work slightly differently. There definitely shouldn't be this problem here. Now, the interesting thing is, I'm guessing that the Y is going to be wrong as well. And right, so that's like 14. This is number 2. So basically this is 0.1. So right, so this multiplier, right, is minus 1. The division amount is 3. So I am thinking that this here should be well, if we add plus 0, that's not going to work. Right, this is a bit of a brain scratcher, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this for now, right? And we're going to plug this straight into here. Right, now the actual input keys don't matter, right? Especially when we're drawing the final spline, because we're not going to amend it, we're not going to do anything with it, right? But what this might have to look like is basically this is 0 as well, so that the input keys match up. Right, there may be a difference between drawing it the way I've calculated it in real time and the way I calculate it at the end, which is slightly different, okay? So let's try this and see if it actually works. Now, this might work or it might go to complete bollocks. So we'll try it out. Okay. Resume. Resume that. Resume that. And there we go. It's fixed, I believe. Now, the thing is, I'm going to stop that for now. The thing is, we have to do the exact same thing on the Y, right? So we have to get the main thing on the Y. And we can basically change that to 0, right? Let's get rid of that. And then if we go back to our X, right, we could do the same there, add 0 and put it in there, which actually makes sense at the end of the day. Right, so that is our fix for the spline. And we just need to remove actually this. And this. Okay. And so we stop that. And then we're going to go back to our this thing here, and we can basically remove this now. Okay, then this plugs straight into here, and we can actually get rid of all that, and there we go. That is a heck of a lot cleaner. Okay, so in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys see the graphs if you've not already seen them, and let it basically run for a minute or two so you guys can have a look. As I say, I don't know why it leaves residual parts. It's a weird one. Right, and we're going to select that, iron ore, select that, widgets, close, conveyor belts, in here, go, 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 and go, 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 and go. And then we need some workers. Let's have lots of workers, workers. Right, and that's going to input our speed. I'm not really worried about these little errors on the spline, right? I'll tell you why. I just want the spline that I can reliably join stuff up at the moment. It doesn't matter how it looks, right? Because we can fix that stuff up later. There's an interesting one. See how it finishes there? As if this is the end of the spline. Hi short video, how you doing, mate? Yeah, they're all finishing one early. That's another little weird little quirk. I'm just wondering if that's something to do with the input key. Because when I put them back, right, okay, let's check it. Right, so it was in here, it's going to be here, and what I'll do is we shall add 0. As I said, I don't know if this is going to have, that's on the Y. That's on the X. Now the problem was on the X. Interesting. Right, let me do what I was going to do. As I said, the point was here, just to make it easier to join up the conveyors, right, and make them at least semi-reliable, right, which they weren't before, because like I wasn't getting a collision on the planes here, so it was like really hard to get a connection, but now it's a lot easier. I've certainly got that bit figured out, which is making it a lot easier to build these splines, right, even though we know they're not quite 100% yet, right, but the mechanic of the spline is working, right. It's basically cosmetic now, right. So we need to go to the smelter, change it to that, go to the fabricator, change it to that, close that, hit lots of workers, yeah, it's still finishing here. So it actually thinks the spline finishes here, but it doesn't, it finishes there. It's really weird. Right, but as I said, it's not cosmetic, right, but the spline finishes there, right, but it actually should finish there. Right, which suggests that the last one isn't right. So we can have a look at that to see what's actually mucking up the last one. Okay, but from earlier, here's what we were looking at. Okay, and what I've done is just I've removed the first 2 minutes, right, because it kind of doesn't make any sense, and it makes more sense. I mean, let's face it, at the end of the day, it's the first 2 minutes, right? So how much we should have some values here. There we go. Right, I'm gonna just grab a cigarette quickly. I shall be back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And you guys can see the graphs moving along. And if you're anything like me, you'll love watching graphs doing graphy things. Okay guys, we're back. And you can see that our spliny things are doing graphy things are doing graphy type things. Okay. And there's actually, come and think of it, there's an easy way to fix this anyway, right? All I need to do to change the scale is change the scale from 0 to 30. And, sorry, minus 2 to 30 rather than 0 to 30, right? So let's just do that. Okay, so what we'll do is we have to go into a data table. I believe it's not going to be that one. And it's this one. Okay, it's not in here then, it's in the actual stats. So it's in here, right? And this range is going to be -2. Okay? And then that should be our graph fixed. And we shall set these up when we are good and ready. And these are going to, I'm never going to test these or do these on the stream because you would basically have to wait an hour to get even the first set of data. So I'm going to have to do some stuff to frig it so that it runs actually faster. And maybe does the minutes rather than the hours first. Okay. So let's have a look at that graph anyway. We don't need to actually have any data in it to make sure it's worked. Right, because what we can just do is go like that, go like that. And that. Then we can hit that button a few times. We can hit the graph button. Okay. Then you'll notice now, don't know why it doesn't show the well, whatever. I mean, the main thing is here that it works. Right, so whether it starts at 0 or not, then who cares, basically. Right. So, I mean, what we could do is change that to -1, I suppose. Now, what's that going to show? On the scale, I don't know. Nah. Yeah, there we go. That's better. We'll live with that. Okay, so let's investigate the final thing then. Okay, because at the end of the day, our last spline is not equal to the last spline in when we actually do it, right? So what I mean by that is we can check our arrays right. So what we need, all we need to do here is look at our spline here, right? And where are our spline points? Okay. Where's our default? Right, stop that for now. Right, we're definitely showing these. So where are they? Is the question. Right, here. Right, so here's our main index points, right? And we're looking at this last one. So it's minus 3950 and 6480. Right? Now, if everything is correct, this last one should be this value here. And it is. Right? And it's the right key number. Let's have a look at this. So yeah, it should be 350 and to there. So that looks perfect. Now you know what I'm interested in, what this actually does. What these different values do. Right, so this is what I would suggest to you guys if you're new to Unreal Engine, is to basically have a play about with this, right, and see what you can do, muck about with stuff. Right, so when we actually draw the spline point, right, we draw the final spline, we add the point, now the interesting thing is, where do we change that value? Is it in here? So I'm guessing it is in here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that out and then make array, and then make a spline point, yeah. So I'm just wondering what a linear one is, you know? Right, let's play with that and see if it actually makes any difference to what we're doing. Right? So we basically do this where we add the splines, right? So we add the main spline points, right? So in here, final main spline, Right. We add to the final main spline. So if we go back to the tidy up, right, let's go back to tidy up. Right, so this means that we've got all the spline points at this point. And we loop through every single one of them. And we get that, we make that. Right, so we can do it with this, right? So let's make it linear and see what it does. Let's try the different options, because I've never tried this before. Right, this might do something interesting. Yeah, it definitely squares it off. Right, it doesn't really fix any of our issues, but it does definitely. I wonder what constant does. Right, so we'll try that one and see what that does. Right. Well, that's interesting. You'll notice how the material's getting stretched and blah blah blah. It's quite weird. Right, curved clamped. Let's see what that does. See how weird that is, shall we? That's an interesting one. That's kind of like the last one, but our material is looking good. Right. That's a weird one. Yeah, it kind of does weird stuff on the clamp, you know? I mean, I just wanted to see what these do. This, I'm getting the feeling that this one might actually totally screw us over. But we'll check it out. Let's have a look, see if it does anything that we want or not. If it does any weird stuff. That's an interesting one. What's this one going to do? Yeah, that does that weird stuff as well. Right, so our best option is the top option. Okay, so we'll just leave it there. And don't ask me why that last piece of the jigsaw, as far as our spline goes, I don't know why our endpoint is not considered the endpoint, right? It's really weird. Because, let's check it again, right? Point 3 is 39506480, right? So we're just looking for these values here in the final spline. And 3950, those are identical. Those are absolutely identical. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why is this linear? Are all of these linear? They are. Is that the reason? No. Well, I mean, the final main spline are all linear. If I had... Was that what they originally were, or was it a curve? What's the default? Right, what's the default? Make spline point. Right, default is a curve. Right, now I'm not going to say this is going to make any difference. In fact, I'd be very surprised if it made any difference. Right, there's something weird about right, it's really weird why this little thing here, this particular piece is not considered the final part of the spline. Right, it's really bizarre. I'll tell you what we'll do, right? We can actually test this a little bit more, because what I want to do now is we've kind of been doing it at the same. See if I do it like, let's say here. Right, now look at this last piece. That's craziness. Is it going to stop here again? Yes. Right, that's a bit of a head scratcher. Now, what I want to do is I want to see this, right? Because the way this is looking, right, is this just a remnant of the earlier one, or what? Or is there an actual difference, right? So that's 1590, so it's gone in one direction absolutely straight. That's 5190 again. And so that's 300. This appears to be wrong. But then again, yeah, that appears to be wrong. There's two of these that are the same. Right? And now it changes. Okay, so I'm guessing now that this isn't right. So if that's 6, that'll be 7, 8, 9. Right, so this is going to be at like position 10 and 11. Right, we've got 1900 there. We've got 13, 16. Two, two. So up until now that looks okay. 2, 5. Unless, oh wait a minute, it might be even lower. Yeah, look at that. There's two of them the same. Right, well there's a way we can sort this out. Right, so what we'll do, so if we go back to our tidy up, right, first index is 0. So we're doing final main spline, right? So right now this is a quick fix, right? So what we'll do is we'll do for each. Okay. And it's not going to be a for each, it's going to be a for loop, right? it's going to be for loop it's not a for each, right, so we don't select that. For loop, right, and it might actually even be a reverse. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We will do a for each loop. For each loop. Right. And we'll be getting a copy of this as well. Copy. And that's going to be array plus 1. Okay. So if that equals, okay, so if that equals if that equals that, then we branch okay, and we basically get this and remove index. Now this was the original code that did this, which was a bit mad. Right, so if that equals that, we remove this index here. Okay. Now this should tidy up our spline, right? Because we're not going to have any duplicates. There can't be any duplicates, right? Now, if my code is making duplicates for a reason or another, then obviously we need to fix it, but now, interesting thing is now there's still some weird stuff going on. Whew. Interesting indeed. So 1, 2, 3. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we reckon there's a problem round about 7. Two one six zero. You see, that's like 500 of a difference. It shouldn't do that. One eight two three. It jumps from 2160 to 2650. Right, now the interesting thing is we start there, right, at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Interesting thing is, has it removed any more? Or has it removed any actually? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 3250. Yeah, it's 300. And that's 4. And that's 400. Right, so whatever that was, but they're still all in a row. Now, what I want to do is I want to test add breakpoint, right? Okay, so this is rubbish. This should actually come from here. Okay. But I do want to see if our code breaks into there, to see if it actually has to do any reimagining of the points. And it does. Now the interesting thing here is right, this is way off now. Oh, I think I know why it is. Yeah, I think I know why it is. right? But we'll do one final action here. Okay. Right, and we'll do it as we're going to do it like this. This is all going to get tidied up, but this is for the sake of just getting it working. Right, so basically what we do is we break this, and then we're going to set array element. Right, I just want to see what actually happens here when I do this. Then okay, what we're going to do is we're going to set members and spline point. Right, and we're going to be doing the input key, and that's going to be going into the array, and then this is going to be going in here, and this is going to be going in here, and that is going in there. Then when we've done all that, all our indexes should be all correct now. Okay, so we resume that. So I'm imagining that I only took out one, right? And now, like, all our spline points should match the correct index. So yeah, we've got 0, 1, 2. Oh, look at that, they're all going in lovely now as well. So I would call that successful. Right? And what I'm going to do now is I am going to have a break for a minute. So I shall be back in a very short time. So if you're enjoying the stream, in fact, there's nobody watching. So I think I will end there. If you've enjoyed the stream, hit the subscribe button, like button, check out the description for Discord and Patreon and my game on Steam. And I shall see you tomorrow at 2 p.m.